The voters have spoken and decided there will be a new sheriff in town. Maricopa County Sheriff Russ Skinner just lost in the Democratic primary to former Phoenix Police Lieutenant Tyler Kamp, who will face off against Republican Jerry Sheridan in November.
It's a very powerful position.
We sat down with Kamp for a one-on-one and asked him why he should be the next sheriff.
My vision for public safety. And so my vision for public safety is we have to ensure justice for everybody. We have to uphold justice, we have to do justice, restorative justice, provide hope for people that are incarcerated, provide them hope so that when they leave the jails, they can find work, they can get plugged back into the community, but then also preventative justice. We have to treat the problem and not just the symptoms.
Kamp is convinced voters will choose him over Sheridan, who was former Sheriff Joe Arpaio's second in command and was on the job when the sheriff's office was found guilty of racial profiling and placed under federal oversight. Arizona's family has learned, however, Kamp has some baggage of his own. This City of Phoenix investigation concluded that Kamp sexually harassed a female officer during his final year on the force by sending dozens of inappropriate text messages while the officer was in training and under his chain of command. Here are some of the text messages. Yoga pants, shoot, I missed it. A little heads up next time, please. You're amazing. I think I'm turned on. LOL. When investigators asked Kamp about the allegations, he did not remember sending the text messages, saying, "In no way did I harass her at all. Any accusations coming from her to me is coming from left field." Lieutenant Kamp stated that after he retired, he went to Africa, where he lost his phone and therefore was unable to provide any screenshots of the text messages. We asked Kamp to respond to the report.
And I'm proud of my career at the Phoenix Police Department. But I do strongly deny the allegation of harassment. I did engage in text messages, mutual text messages with somebody that were not, they're not respectful to my wife and my family. And that's something that I've talked to her and we've dealt with years ago. And I'm a much better man. I'm a much better person for it.
Some political insiders believe one of the reasons Kamp was able to defeat Skinner in the primary is because Skinner was a registered Republican who switched over and became a Democrat when former Sheriff Paul Penzone stepped down earlier this year. The Board of Supervisors could only appoint a replacement from the same party. Now Arizona's family has learned that Kamp switched parties as well. We asked Kamp if voters should be concerned that he's only been a registered Democrat since December.
It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, or want zero political affiliation at all. Politics should not influence what you do as sheriff. Public safety needs to be ensured for everybody.
Now, it's important to point out that the sexual harassment complaint was filed after Kamp retired. He never faced any discipline. Back to you guys.
Jason.